All right, everybody, we are live. I have a very exciting couple of tidbits of news from the various grifters around the United States in the YouTube finance sphere. So in this video, we're going to cover a couple interesting topics from Meet Kevin, who is being sued because of some very interesting things. We're going to cover grifters freaking out on Jeremy Lefebvre because he sold a certain stock and bought another stock. And then we're going to listen to Andrei Jikh shill another cryptocurrency because what he does in all circumstances is when crypto goes up, he shills it. And when it goes down, he tells you to sell it. So the first thing I have here is a lawsuit filed in the Superior Court of the state of California. Oops, of course. Sorry, technical difficulties. In and for the country or county of Ventura. So let me go ahead and pull up the presentation here, and bear with me. I'm in a hotel right now. The presentation could cut out. There could be audio issues, but I will be out of the hotel tomorrow morning. Thank God. So here is the lawsuit. It's filed by the plaintiffs Andrea Gobbler, an individual, and Michaela Skelton, an individual, versus the Paffrath organization, a California corporation, Kevin Paffrath as an individual, Lauren Paffrath, his wife, an individual, and does 1 through 50 inclusive. So here are the complaints for damages. People want money out of Meat Breath. Whistleblower retaliation. What are you whistleblowing? What is this, like a corporate fraud, like Enron style? Wrongful termination in violation of public policy. Okay, he fired somebody. Work environment harassment. The S word harassment. Oh, is Meat Smoker being a little naughty, or is it his wife? Failure to prevent harassment. How do you do that? If somebody's going to harass somebody, they're going to harass somebody. Wrongful constructive discharge. Discharge from what? His dong. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. Failure to pay overtime. Failure to pay regular wages, minimum wage, blah, 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 blah. So there's a lot of little complaints here, okay? And just because somebody has sued somebody else doesn't mean it's true. Now, I'm not trying to say that Meat Breath is innocent here or that his wife's innocent. What I am trying to say is just because somebody has filed a lawsuit is immaterial. And if you're a rich person and a controversial rich person like Mr. Paffrath, then you might actually have some clownish lawsuits because a bunch of brokies are trying to get some money out of you. So let's keep reading. Plaintiff Giebler's, we're going to call her Gobbler from now on. Plaintiff Gobbler's employment. Plaintiff Gobbler was hired on or around May 20th, 2021 in a hybrid role that included both nannying and housekeeping duties. At the time of hire, Plaintiff Gobbler's hourly rate was $30 per hour. That's a pretty good wage for a nanny. I mean, it is California, so I can understand that, but that's still pretty good. During this time, she cared for Meat Breath's 2 kids, JP and MP. I forgot their name. I think one's named Jack, maybe. In addition to caring for the children, she was responsible for doing laundry, dishes, cooking, grocery shopping, cleaning, picking up prescriptions, refueling defendants' vehicles. I thought Kevin had a Tesla. What are we refueling here? And occasionally taking the children to and from school. From May 21 to November 2023, Plaintiff Gobbler was typically scheduled for 8 hours per day, 5 days a week. Man, I wish I could afford a freaking nanny. That would be absolutely wonderful. See, in most families, what they have, and I'm checking my phone to make sure the audio is good. In most families, what they have is they have what's called a mommy. A mommy. And what mommy does is all these duties while daddy goes to work. That's how a normal family used to operate back in the day. Now, if you're rich, you just hire a nanny. And I honestly don't blame them. In January 2022, Plaintiff Gobbler received a pay increase to $45 an hour. That's like $90,000. That's over $90,000 a year. God, 90 grand to watch some kids. I mean, it's a lot of work. Okay. In February 2022, defendants added a plaintiff Gobbler's duties and responsibilities. In addition to her child care duties, Plaintiff Gobbler began performing duties of personal chef for defendants' employees. She heated up some ramen noodles, as well as stocking defendants' private jet with food and drinks. I mean, I guess for over 90 grand a year. Then she got a pay raise to $50 an hour. This nanny was making over $100K a year. That's a lot of freaking money. Okay, so now we know the context. And I'm sorry, it could be a little small. It could be hard to read, but these are snapshots. All right. So in May, September, and November 2022, plaintiff Gobbler worked 24 hours a day for 1 to 2 weeks at a time, caring for Jack and MP, while defendants traveled internationally without the children. Oh my God, they went on a vacation without the kids. Now, I guess this is one of her complaints, is she had to work 24 hours a day. She wasn't actually working 24 hours a day because the kids would bed. They actually go to bed and sleep, usually 10 hours a night. At least that's been my experience. During her overnight stays, plaintiff was monitored through cameras that were installed in her bedroom. So apparently she's being spied upon by the plaintiff. Oh, interesting. Or by the defendant, excuse me. Kevin getting a little entertainment on his free time. Plaintiff Gobbler later learned that all cameras included audio recording capabilities because defendant Lauren told plaintiff Gobbler that she loved sitting in the other room or at the Platinum House, listening to the nanny's conversations for entertainment. Yes, okay. If I had a random woman watching my kids, I would record them and have cameras too, because you never know what goes on. I actually don't blame the Paffraths for doing this. Okay, now, as long as they were told in advance that they're being monitored, that's fine. And that should be a requirement. You got to behave yourself, okay? Especially when there's children involved, your precious little children. These comments made plaintiff Gobbler even more uncomfortable as she felt she was being watched and listened to without her consent. But she knew she was being monitored because defendant Lauren told her that you're making $100K a year. Shut your mouth. When she brought this up to the defendant, she was dismissed. At no point did the defendant seek plaintiff Gobbler's consent. Okay, that could be a little bit of a problem there. That could be a little bit of a problem. All right, moving on. Okay, from November 2023 to her termination, Gobbler worked on an average of 7 overnight shifts per month, during which she provided 24-hour care for the children, including housekeeping duties. No, she went to bed. Okay, my kids go to bed by 8:30 and they get up at like 6:37. They're sleeping half the freaking night. You're not on 24-hour care. Oh, maybe one of them crapped their pants one time and she had to change their underwear. Plaintiff Gobbler was paid via Venmo and Zelle during her employment, despite multiple press requests to be on the books and have payroll taxes taken out and to be paid overtime compensation. I mean, it sounds like she's classified as an employee, because if they control your schedule, you know, if they basically control what you do throughout the day and you have a fixed shift that you need to be there, and you don't really have a lot of control over, you know, your own schedule, you're probably an employee. A contractor is somebody like me who you pay me to do your taxes. See the pinned comment. I do tax preparation. I'm a CPA. You pay me to do your taxes, and you don't sit down and say, Chris, I want you to work from 8:30 to 10 o'clock doing my taxes. You pay me to do your taxes. I do them when I can before the filing deadline. I control my hours. I provide my own equipment. I do all the freaking, I do all the stuff on my own accord and my own time frame. I'm a contractor when it comes to doing somebody's taxes. She does sound like an employee. So this does, in my like overview, that seems kind of improper. And when you have 1099, there's a lot of additional crap that goes into it. Plaintiff Gobbler made multiple complaints to the defendants regarding her concerns about Jack's and MP's development and behavioral issues, including their aggressive and violent behavior towards the nannies, the babies, and their struggles with socialization. Okay, boys. Okay. Boys are generally more aggressive and will fight each other and will clown around and will be more wild than girls. How do I know that? I have a boy and a girl. The boy likes to be, you know, he likes rough and tumble. He's a typical boy. Okay. But to this chick, she's probably, oh, he's violent. Oh, he wrestled his brother. Oh. Or so that I mean, that's the impression that I'm getting. Just because your kid's a little bit aggressive doesn't mean that there's something wrong with them. That's usually a boy thing. Okay. What you do is you take them out and you entertain them. But sometimes they're little craps. And you know what you do? you put them in timeout or you punish them and they stop their behavior. You make them cry a little bit and then they stop. I mean, my son will torture my daughter a little bit. And you know what? I'm like, get your little butt to timeout, boy. And then if it gets really serious, I bust out the little hanger from the closet. Couple little taps on the butt, solves the problem. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. In November 2023, plaintiff Gobbler feared for the safety of the babies because MP expressed aggression towards the babies. Probably a typical child's reaction. So it was him and his brother for many years. And then all of a sudden there's 5 new freaking kids in the house and their whole routine gets disrupted and their parents have to focus on the babies. So the child gets upset about it. Okay. That's a pretty typical reaction for a child. The fear increased when plaintiff Gobbler was told by MP that he had dreams of deleting the babies. Oh, okay. That's a little extreme there. That's when you really bust out the coat hanger. MP frequently went after the babies with sharp objects and kicked the babies on multiple occasions. Okay. A boy does that once. If my son has bit my daughter, I tore him a new one. Okay. And he quickly learned that that's not acceptable. He knows that's wrong. If this keeps happening, they're not being disciplined properly. That's probably the problem here. Kids are going to do something once. Like kids are going to punch each other and kick each other. You got to lay the wrath of God on them and they'll learn their freaking lesson. And if they keep doing it, you come down like a freaking inferno. That's the only way to teach them. Okay. But if they're not being punished properly, they're going to keep doing it. In February 2024, defendants were notified that the triplets, who were born via surrogate were going to be born via emergency C-section and that the babies had life-threatening issues. Defendants did not go to the hospital. Instead, they went on a date night and returned home inebriated. Okay. I'm not trying to defend Kevin here, but that just doesn't seem like something people would do. Okay. If somebody actually told you that your kids had life-threatening issues, I don't think him and his wife just said, oh, our children might not make it. Let's go to have dinner. I don't believe that happened. Okay, I think there's a little bit of twisting of facts here, and I'm defending Kevin because I've lived with a woman that would twist facts like this. Oh, your kids were sick and you didn't care. It's a lie and a manipulation usually. So I just don't personally believe that. That seems like too extreme. Now, if they actually did do that, that would be crazy. But I personally don't believe it on the surface. Defendants went to the hospital the next day to see the triplets for the first time and returned home the same day via their private jet. Oh, they should have stayed 2 days instead of 1. Women lie all the time. They lie they twist facts just to make you look bad. And most of the time, it's a bold-faced lie. Ask me how I know that. In February 2024, plaintiff Gobbler began caring for the defendant's triplets. Plaintiff Gobbler continued to work 12 hours per day, 5 to 6 days per week. She was no longer responsible for chef duties. Rather, she transitioned into caring for all the defendant's babies and maintaining the home. That's an insane amount of work. 3 babies, 5 babies. Oh my God. In February 24, one of the baby triplets, SP, was diagnosed at birth with meconium ilchus, a life-threatening bowel obstruction. She received treatment at UC Davis that required a 3-month stay and 3 separate surgeries. When SP was released, she required a feeding tube and specialized care at home. Gobbler suffered severe stress and anxiety related to SP's care, given she, along with the other nannies, were not trained professionals and had no experience with a G-tube. Okay, she's just pulling whatever she can out of the box. Gobbler expressly requested hands-on training from a qualified medical professional due to her lack of experience with G-tube feeding and care. Rather than providing instruction, defendants arranged for a brief 10-minute explanation by a family friend who was a retired nurse. and to plaintiff Gobbler's knowledge was not actively licensed or authorized to train caregivers. I know nothing about these tubes, G spots, whatever they are. So I can't really speak to how much training you need, but there is the chance that it doesn't take a lot of work to do it. But I can see why the nanny would be nervous, because you have like kids that have severe issues. And if you mess up, something bad could happen to the kid, and you don't want that on your hands. So I could see why she'd be nervous about that. Defendants failed to offer any formal instruction, written protocols, or emergency procedures related to the G-tube, despite the inherent risks involved. At no time were comprehensive safety measures or contingency plans discussed or implemented. As a result, plaintiff Gobbler was placed in an unsafe and ill-prepared position, forced to undertake complex medical care without necessary training or support. Okay, I don't know what to say about that. Okay. Following VP's discharge from the Ventura Hospital, JP was admitted for a respiratory infection. During that time, Lauren texted Gobbler stating her and defendant Kevin were going on a date night. Gobbler was instructed to take JP to the emergency room. Okay, I mean, it depends on how sick the kid was. Like, okay, let's say your kid has is sneezing, and they've been sneezing for a couple of days, and you're like, you know what, maybe we should get that checked. Okay, then I think it's okay for the nanny just to take them and see what's going on. If the kid has like severe coughing and sounds like they're dying, then I would expect the parents to go. I had one time my son had a croup or crew or whatever you call it, and it sounded like it was like it was this weird freaking sound, and we thought we were like, holy crap, it sounded really bad. So we had to like rush to the ER to take him there. And that's kind of the occasion when parents would go. But sometimes my kids, my daughter has a nose, has been sneezing and her nose is runny. Okay, let's take her to the urgent care. Okay, the parent doesn't necessarily have to go for that. Defendant Lauren sent Gobbler to the ER alone on at least 2 separate occasions. Well, I mean, maybe urgent care was closed. I don't know. I mean, this could be totally true or it could be a total lie. Women do lie. They manipulate. Lauren instructed Gobbler to lie to hospital staff and tell them Lauren could not be at the hospital because she had to stay home with the other children. This was false, as defendants had nannies around the clock. In addition to the health hazards, Gobbler was concerned for the baby's physical safety as a result of MP's escalating violent behavior. Okay, the kid's having trouble with 5 new daughters. Like I said, a little bit of taps on the rear end with a hanger would probably solve that problem. Gobbler requested that a lock be installed on the nursery door to protect the babies, but her request was dismissed. I mean, it's one of those things, not my son. This pattern of indifference towards the baby's welfare placed him at continual risk and further contributed to Gobbler's unsafe working conditions. I mean, I guess the parents know the kid better than the nanny does because they didn't see any safety concerns. I think if they actually had safety concerns, I think they would have done something about it. Gobbler also requested the defendant schedule additional nannies per shift because of the complex and intense care required for the medically fragile baby. I mean, 5 babies at once. That's nuts. Nuts. I've had 2 at one time, and that's a lot of freaking work. Despite Gobbler's repeated requests, defendants failed to provide adequate staffing, and I'm overwhelmed. She's probably whining. I can't handle it. I'm making $100,000 a year. Then you should have quit. Throughout Gobbler's employment, she was not afforded a legally compliant meal period of at least 30 minutes on. Oh, shut up. Oh, I didn't get my meal period. Gobbler was not afforded a second meal period. Okay, that's who cares. She didn't get rest breaks. She didn't get meal periods. Whatever. I mean, if you're a nanny, you don't have time for rest. How are you going to rest? You're watching 5, 7 kids. That's if you don't rest. You never rest. You're constantly attending to them. There should be an exemption for nannies. Okay. So here she is. She's whining about her freaking rest period. Okay. Oh, here's a funny one. Throughout her employment, defendant Lauren made sexually explicit comments to plaintiff Skelton that made her uncomfortable regarding Kevin's uncircumcised dong sexual fantasies, preferences, and positions. And details about her personal relations life with defendant Kevin. Okay. Lauren probably thought that Skelton was her girlfriend. Because women talk about that all the time. Oh my God, how big's his dong? How long does he last? What position did you start with? What'd you go halfway through? What position did you end in? Oh my God, is it circumcised or not? They talk about that stuff. What men do is they say, did you get the cheeks, bro? Yeah, I did. Okay, that's great. That's what women do. They love to talk. They need details about everything. So I guess Lauren thought they were like buddy, but apparently they weren't. Skelton told Lauren those types of conversations made her uncomfortable on multiple occasions. Okay, well, if she told her it made her uncomfortable, that's a different story. Lauren dismissed Skelton's complaints and continued to make sexually charged comments almost daily. Man, Kevin must be throwing some big dong. Good for him. Lauren also told plaintiff Skelton that she needed to keep her eye on her because Skelton was defendant Kevin's type. I wonder what she looks like. Skelton's discomfort increased when defendant Lauren started referencing private conversations Skelton had with other nannies. Conversations Lauren was not present for. It became apparent that the nannies were being recorded. Okay, so they were being recorded. Got it. The same month, Skelton witnessed MP exhibiting violent tendencies. While running around in the kitchen, Skelton noticed he was holding a pair of scissors. Skelton asked him calmly to stop running with scissors for safety reasons. MP looked at Skelton and said, "I'm going to stab you." Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean that he actually wanted to stab her. Kids do stupid stuff. Okay? Well, I wouldn't let him run around with scissors at all. And if he said that, then I would discipline him very harshly. Very, very harshly. And he would never do it again. And it just seems like he's not getting his little behind spanked enough. But, yeah, I guess they're taking threats from 6-year-olds seriously. I just push him over. Oh, you're going to stab me? Oh, scary. When plaintiff Skelton brought this to Lauren's attention, Lauren told Skelton not to speak to her son that way. On a separate occasion that month, Skelton went to MP holding a pair of scissors behind CP while making stabbing motions. Look, he's probably horsing around. I mean, it sounds like I'm defending the kid, but they're kids, okay? They need to be they're wild animals when they're born, and you have to discipline them and teach them and raise them to not be wild animals anymore. So if they're not being disciplined, yeah, they're going to act like wild animals. But yeah, brothers will do that to each other. As soon as Skelton noticed, she quickly intervened and MP ran off. Okay, so basically it's a bunch of accusations. It could be total BS. I mean, there's some sketchy thing. The main sketchy things I see is the paying her with a 1099, paying her without withholding taxes and all that. That seems like it's a little bit off. The meal thing and the rest break thing, yeah, okay. I mean, I guess if California requires that, I guess you have to do it. So that's kind of bad. But when it comes to like the kids, I think it's just a discipline problem. I think the boy just needs a little spanking, and that'll probably fix that right quick, don't you think? That's my personal opinion. And it could be all lies. Like I said 10 times in this video, people lie, especially that gender. Okay. So that's the first bit of news. Interesting stuff. Is the stream good? Looks like we're doing good. All right. Next, we are going to cover somebody that's very upset with Jeremy Lefebvre. Very upset with Jeremy Lefebvre. And you know what? I may have to defend Jeremy tonight too. I defended Kevin a little bit. Maybe you should spank his kids more, but whatever. Now I maybe have to defend Jeremy here. So let me know if the volume doesn't work. Okay. If the volume doesn't work, then I think we're cooked for this live stream, but hopefully it works. Okay. I'll be watching the comments. If you can't hear it, if you cannot hear it, type 2. If you can, put 1.
This motherfucker has Teslas and FSD, and he still doesn't get it. I mean,
okay, I played a little bit of a clip. Did you guys hear that? Somebody put 3. 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, you know what? I'm just gonna play. If you guys can't hear it, that's your problem. So here, I don't know who is this dude? This looks like a turbo dweeb. So, okay, his name's Tesla Hodler. So his whole YouTube or his whole X finance career is shilling Tesla. Husband, father, I own a Tesla. I hodl Tesla and degenerately trade everything else. Wow, sounds like my type of guy. And he says in this post, friendly reminder, course seller Jeremy sold Tesla stock and bought Adobe. Honestly, I think Jeremy made a smart decision selling Tesla. Very smart decision. And I don't give Jeremy a lot of compliments. Since then, Tesla's up 22% and Adobe's down negative 2.5%. Over what time period? A couple months? God, I will never manage people's money, ever. Because I'll be like, hey, you should buy VT and treasuries. And then something random will go up more. And then they'll be like, well, why did you tell me to buy that, bro? Why did you tell me to buy that? And it's like, you're supposed to think long run, not if one stock went up a little bit in a short time period. I can't deal with it. I could never manage people's money because they're so freaking stupid and performance chasing. All right. So we got little Jeremy. Of course, Jeremy's in the back. Usually Jeremy's in the front. He's the bottom. But I guess right here, he's looking over his shoulder, about to insert himself.
This motherfucker has Teslas and FSD, and he still doesn't get it. I mean, that's borderline retarded shit.
Sir, you need to watch your language. We're on YouTube, and this is a family-friendly platform. So the guy's argument right off the bat is that Jeremy is dumb because he has Teslas and FSD, and he should know about the company. Well, I have a Ford Fiesta. That doesn't mean I'm buying Ford. Okay, just because something's cool doesn't mean you're getting a good price for the stock. This guy's an idiot. Fanatic. Tesla fanatic.
That's full retard shit right there, Jeremy.
Everybody knows you never go full retard.
And then he'll tell you why Elon's just a dipshit and jump on the bandwagon with everybody else. He'll
jumping on the band. You know who's been calling Elon a dip, you know what, and a clown from the beginning? Me. Elon Musk is a scammer. He's a fraud. He's a stock pumper. He's a clown. I've been saying this since 2020. And guess what? I was right. And now Jeremy is finally understanding that Elon is a total fraud and Tesla is a piece of garbage. And Jeremy, oh, by the way, you got completely lucky on Tesla stock. You were wrong about Tesla. You projected it was going to grow forever into infinity and take over the world. You were wrong. Daddy Strongman was right. But the stock doesn't care. It just goes up no matter what. But the company itself is not doing well. FSD's really good.
Show you videos that go back, 5 years talking about how Musk has been promising full autonomy since 2015. Yes, he has vision. Jeremy, you used to know that. You used to know that tackling problems that nobody else has ever solved was hard. You used to get that concept, and you used to be supportive of this.
You're wrong. Elon just says whatever he has to say to pump the stock price, and he always over-promises and under-delivers. This has been proven 1,000 different times. If you cannot see that, you are literally in the cult. You are brain dead. You are cooked. You're a religious fanatic if you can't understand that Elon is just a massive pumper at this point. There's nothing we can do for you. But this guy, I'm in the cult. Oh yeah, I'm your leader. What a freaking moron! I've never heard of this guy before.
This guy, and he made you rich. He is one of the primary reasons that you are rich today. But what are you saying as of 13 hours ago? You're telling people to sell Tesla, sell it all. Robotaxi business will not be anything meaningful financially for 5 years minimum. That's the fucking shit you're posting.
I believe that. I agree with Jeremy. I bet you it's not going to be ever meaningful. It's not. He's full of crap. The company is imploding. Everything is collapsing with Tesla. It's a joke of a company. And the only people that are continuing to support Tesla, they're either dumb or they're smart, but they're trying to make money off of pumping it to dumb people. That's the two types of Tesla shareholders, morons and grifters.
Do you really believe that? Are you so stupid now that you truly believe that? Robots are the 2030 plus story. Do you believe that? Do you believe that in 4.5 years, that story will be interesting? At least Amit is like push and figure. At least he has some fucking concept.
Oh, are we going to talk about Amit here? Popular stock wants to fluff Elon, pumps Tesla. Shocker. You know what Amit wants? He wants to get an interview with Elon Musk. He's a gobbler. He slurps it up. That's all he is. He's a shill. They're all shills. They're all frauds. They post, they fluff, hoping to catch the attention of these CEOs so they can get interviewed or meet them. And that launches them into the stratosphere because they're buddy-buddy with these grift CEOs. That's all it is. These people go on this platform and they just fluff all these big leaders, hoping they get their attention. And with Elon specifically, it's a bunch of women that are like trying to get impregnated by him. Oh, Tesla girly. Yeah. Clap my cheeks, Elon. Yeah.
Of this company and what's coming. Core business sucks. What is the core business? Are they just a car company, Jeremy? Is that what they are?
No, they're a car company and they're a power storage generation company. Car sales are collapsing. Car revenues collapsing. Fact. Margins are collapsing. Fact. Cash flows are collapsing. Fact. Energy storage was growing massively. Now it's flatlined. Fact. Total Tesla market share around the world is now going down in every single continent. Fact. These are facts. But facts don't matter to occultists. They don't matter. I think you cannot help people. They are literally so brainwashed.
The valuation is sky high. Yes, they have a high valuation. That is true. But I would argue that 4+ years of sideways chop make that valuation a lot better than it was.
No, the valuation actually made more sense when it was growing rapidly, which it was in like 2020, 2021. Now it literally makes no sense. It's like even more clownish than it was before. It's 10 times more clownish now than it was in 2020 and 2021. It is delusional clown garbage at this point.
This stock will be lower or around here 3 to 5 years from now. You're saying for 10 fucking years, this stock deserves to trade sideways.
It deserves to crash 90%. He's right. That doesn't mean the stock will probably just keep going up because we're in a delusional, insane market. But Jeremy's right. The stock, everything about the company is imploding. This was obvious to predict. Tesla was not going to grow at those massive rates forever, and they were going to have massive competition. And it all came true. Oh, who is the genius YouTube analyst that predicted that? Do I get any credit for that? No.
That's what you're telling us? Waste of capital. Jeremy, you're being a biased dipshit moron. And I say this as your friend. I mean, I'm not really your friend.
Jeremy is being biased and a dip, you know what, and a moron. I mean, he is. He's a moron. And he's a dip, you know what. But he's right on Tesla. Okay, you're not looking at the numbers. You're getting on your knees and taking Elon's 3-inch dong right in your mouth. That's all you're doing. Oh, Elon, please retweet me. Please retweet me so I can get more Twitter followers and grift more. Ooh. That's all they want. They want to be retweeted by Elon Musk.
But I think of you as one because there's this concept called parasocial relationships where I watched your videos for a long fucking time. And so
he unironically watched Jeremy's videos. If you have ever unironically watched Jeremy's videos, you're a moron. If you're still unironically watching Jeremy, I don't even know what the word is. Sub-zero IQ. You have a negative IQ if you unironically listen to that moron. How much more evidence do I need to give you people?
So as a parasocial friend, I think you're being a fucking idiot. I think you're being a fucking idiot if you think it's going to take 10 fucking years of sideways chop for the stock to go up. And if you think it's going to take 5 years for robotics to be impactful and a minimum.
The robotics are a meme. So apparently he had great progress and he was going to start producing a bunch of robots next year. He opened a restaurant and they had the robot serving popcorn, right? It was probably a gimmick. But they actually had human staff because the robots can't do it. They're not ready. It's a meme. You think we're going to have robots from Tesla? I could see robots from other companies. From Tesla? I'm not seeing it, people. I'm just not seeing it. Maybe I don't have the vision of this grifting moron clown here. Wow.
Minimum of what? Minimum robotaxi 5 years? 5 years for robotaxi. They're literally going to be deploying this at a massive scale, and you think that. I don't. You know what I've noticed? You know what I've noticed over time? Is that there's a lot of emotional investors out there. There's just a lot.
You're talking about yourself, dude. Jeremy. There's a lot of emotional people out there. Oh my God. You should not be emotional with your investments. You shouldn't. Okay. You know how many times people have mocked me for VT? I've never sold it. Okay. I mean, yes, I did have a sale because I wanted to plush up my treasuries. Yes, that's true. But 99% of my VT I've never touched, and I continue to buy it. It's my only investment, and I've stuck to it. I'm not emotional. Oh, it underperformed the S&P this year. Maybe it underperforms the S&P next year. I don't care. I have my thesis. I stick to it. And I will logically debate anybody on why you should buy VT over anything else. But I'm not going to have a mental breakdown about it like this moron.
There's a lot of them. It's actually a really popular thing to be an emotional investor. If you want the clicks, you should actually be that.
Your name is Tesla Hodler. That's your whole brand. Of course, you're always going to shill it. You are bought and paid for, you little scammer.
You should be the here's the news and here's why it's so bad and here's why everything's falling apart. Because if you want to do really well, here, I got to go back. Let me get my bookmarks up here. I'm just like floundering.
Oh, he's so big. You criticize Tesla. You can't do that.
But if you want to do really well for the clickbait shit, that's what you do, right? If you don't have any real vision of your own and you're like a one-trick pony, not saying that you are, but...
His name is Tesla Hodler. He's a one-trick pony. This is some serious projection, dude. This is hilarious.
I don't know. There's probably a few things that Jeremy fucked up on. Not that I haven't had my share. I think he's beating me, though. But,
okay, I might agree with that. And look, it sounds like I'm defending Jeremy here. He's a total moron and a fraud. And he has massively underperformed the S&P 500 over his investing lifetime. Guaranteed 100%. He shills his wins and he hides his losses. He lost $3 million in 2022. He's maybe made $2 or $3 million now. He's breaking even. The market itself is up 60, 70, 80%. Jeremy is broken even. But of course, you people are so stupid that you look at selective time periods. He starts his little chart at the bottom in 2023, and all his gains you think are actual gains when he's actually just going back to break even. That's how stupid people are. And it's just like you can only explain it so many times. Okay? So this guy probably has outperformed Jeremy. Not surprised. I've definitely beaten Jeremy, 100%. No doubt in my mind, I've massively outperformed Jeremy buying VT. This guy, if he's all in Tesla, maybe he's beaten me for now. About the long run, I don't know. But maybe he has for now. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I don't know. Super disappointed. Super disappointed. But you know what? There's some real ones. There's a lot of downgrades coming, but there's companies like Morgan Stanley that still reaffirm their overweight position at a $410 price target.
Irrelevant. They had back in the clown market, they had insane price targets for everything. This is all the firms. They're just making stuff up. It's all a scam. They're slapping random numbers on a piece of paper and they're charging you for it.
Highlights Tesla's shift from auto to AI and robotics as a key growth driver. I mean, I guess if you're listening to Jeremy, that's 5 years down the road. This motherfucker has Teslas and FSD, and he still doesn't get it. I mean, that's borderline retarded shit. That's full retard shit.
Okay. Look, I think Jeremy made the right decision. If you had bought Tesla and it's up 1,000% and its financials are collapsing, it's probably not a bad idea to take some profits. Okay, maybe I'm a moron, but God, what a freaking clown. All right, so that's the Jeremy draw. Apparently the grifters are getting mad at Tesla. If you violate the cult, you're cooked. If I sold 1% of I sold 1% of my portfolio, 1%, and all the comments, me. All right. So last on our little grifter roast session is Andrei Jerkoff. So Andrei Jikh is a totally incompetent moron. He's clueless. He has no idea how to invest. He's lost probably millions of dollars in garbage investments. He indirectly shilled FTX through the Millennial Money podcast, which they just deleted, because if you delete it, it's gone. If you delete it, it never happened, bro. You can do whatever you want as long as you delete it. It's fine. And now, of course, he's shilling XRP. So let's watch as much of this as I possibly can. And oh, by the way, people, once I'm a full-time grifter, I'm going to be doing the daily grifter report. It's going to be so much fun. All right, let's see if this is too fast.
So today I want to help break down some of the rumors and developments around XRP, which I think are super fascinating.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important.
Ripple's a company of really professional people working really hard on this. That's why we chose XRP. We believe in XRP. We're not making a price prediction, but we do believe it's a coin that will have the most utility out there.
Canadian XRP ETFs, for example, which launched just a few weeks ago, have already seen roughly $280 million in trading volume. And
okay, so his first argument is a bunch of random CEOs shilling XRP, probably because they make money off of you morons gambling with it. Shocker. Wall Street loves crypto because they make a fortune charging fees.
BlackRock, which is the world's biggest asset manager with over $10 trillion under management, is rumored to be exploring XRP's blockchain technology to tokenize their global assets. But there's also rumors of Bank of America potentially partnering with Ripple, and there's also breakthroughs like the Genius Act, which are clearing the way for Ripple's stablecoin, Real USD. Now, before I get into it, I'd like to start.
That Genius Act scares the crap out of me. Fully integrating crypto throughout our economy. That's a little terrifying.
These videos by showing you my portfolio so you can judge for yourself exactly how biased I may or may not be. So full transparency, XRP represents a very small percentage of my portfolio. It's about 0.1%.
Okay, so he's got 11,600. So what is he saying his whole portfolio is? Hopefully I don't screw up this math on live stream and embarrass myself. So 11,670 divided by 0.0001. I think that's it. No, that can't be right. Hold on a minute. Hold on.
Full transparency, XRP represents a very small percentage of my portfolio. It's about 0.1%. So I'm definitely not all in.
0.1%. Okay, my bad. So once again, let's see how big Andrei's portfolio is. So he's saying he has an $11.6 million portfolio. I mean, honestly, it doesn't surprise me. You could be a total moron. This is why I'm telling you all these grifters are fakes. All their wealth comes from YouTube. Andrei Jikh has an $11.6 million portfolio, and he's had catastrophic destruction of his finances multiple times. But he makes so much money from YouTube that he can't fail. This is all the grifters. It's all a lie. It's all an illusion. But whatever. I don't even get mad about it anymore. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't.
But my XRP holdings have grown by over 10x from my initial investment. And even if just some of the predictions were to come true from this video, it could represent a much bigger part of my portfolio in the future. Now, this is just a reminder that as you're watching this video,
I like how he has 0.1% in the XRP, and then he decides to shill it. Look, if he has 0.1%, okay, you can put 1.1% too if you want. I will allow that. You could put 0.1% of your portfolio in XRP. All right, I'm going to grab some water. I'll be right back.
Please remember that this will be very speculative. It'll be exciting. And as always, please don't treat this as financial advice because it's not. So let me get into exactly why people are dreaming of these insane price predictions again and why there might actually be something real behind all the hype. So with that said, let's get into it. Hi, my name is Andrei Jikh. Hope you're doing well. Come for the finance and stay for XRP. Now, in the middle of June this year, Canada became the first major market to greenlight spot XRP ETFs with Purpose Investments, 3iQ, and Evolve. They all launched their funds on the same day. And in just the first week, those 3 ETFs traded about 280 million Canadian dollars worth of XRP. What's even more interesting, though, is that
they're making a kill. They are making a killing on fees, baby.
these ETFs outpaced the initial volumes that were seen in a lot of the early Bitcoin and Ethereum funds in Canada, which means the demand for XRP is really high right now. Now, at the same time, though, here in the US, there were 11 separate filings for spot XRP ETFs. They are now pending with the SEC, and analysts from Bloomberg are now assigning a better than 80% chance that at least one of these US XRP ETFs will be approved by.
Oh, I believe it. 100. Oh, I 100% believe that's going to happen. With this current SEC, they'll let anything fly nowadays.
By the end of the year. Now, if this were to happen, though, we could see the same pattern that happened in Canada, that the XRP ETFs could see more money flowing into them than both Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. But next up, let's talk about regulation and why it actually matters for XRP's real-world use cases. Because on July 18th, Congress passed and the president signed the Genius Act, which is the first ever federal framework for dollar-backed stablecoins. Now that this law is in effect, it's going to require every stablecoin to be 100% backed by liquid assets, have monthly reserve audits to make sure that everything's legit.
Okay, this is what concerns me. So the Genius Act, it says only federally insured banks or non-bank firms approved by the OCC may issue payment stablecoins. Sorry, Discord comment there, which must be backed 1-to-1 by high-quality liquid assets. The question here is, what do you define as high quality? So you're going to have all these stable coins out there potentially backed by hot freaking trash. I could totally see Wall Street doing that. 100%. They used to say that the mortgage loans that they packaged up and sold off to people, they said those were high quality. Were they high quality? No, they were full of toxic loans. The same thing, the same risk could happen. Your stable coins could be worth a lot less than you might think, especially in hard economic times. If there is a bad recession, I would be concerned about the actual value of your stable coins. And I don't know what the ripple effects are of stable coins losing their dollar peg value. That would be terrifying to me. But right now, everything's great. They can take securities and they can issue stable coins and they can collect the interest on the securities. It's a bonanza right now. But I think they're going to get really greedy, and they're going to potentially back these stable coins with less than pristine quality assets, and that could have issues in the future. Mark this down for 5 years from now.
And stablecoins will have to meet strict consumer protection standards. Now, for Ripple's XRP, this is huge because it clears the way for their own stablecoin, Real USD, to go live on the XRP ledger without constant uncertainty. Now, once Real USD is in circulation, it can fuel what's called ODL, or the on-demand liquidity, which is Ripple's product that uses XRP as a bridge currency to settle cross-border payments instantly. Now,
and this is probably the government probably likes this because they could issue all these treasuries to these stablecoin providers, and they basically found new buyers of government debt. So I can see why the U.S. wants to be the center of crypto worldwide, because they can issue way more debt, have it, basically exchanged for stable coins. And if the entire world is using these stable coins backed by U.S. debt, the U.S. government can just freaking print money into infinity and borrow money into infinity. I mean, it could work, maybe.
That's a lot of complicated words, but imagine banks or payment providers on-ramping dollars into Real USD at one end, moving the value on the ledger in seconds, then off-ramping back to dollars on the other side, all without the delays and fees of traditional banking. And because Real USD sits on the ISO 222 standard, the XRP ledger has sub 1 second finality, 1,500 transactions per second capacity, and very, very small fees, which means.
And there's a difference between the technology, which I don't necessarily have a problem with. Like if you could have instantaneous settlement of transactions. Okay, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It could lead to flash crashes potentially. That's my gut instinct. But it would be nice to have like instantaneous settlement of transactions, and cryptocurrency could do that. The technology could. But that doesn't mean you go buy these random coins. It's all about the technology that could bring us into a better future. Not the freaking coins themselves. There's a billion coins and they can be replicated infinitely.
It could process billions and billions in daily volume at a tiny fraction of today's costs. So while these ETFs are making all the headlines, I think the behind-the-scenes rail upgrades are really what turns speculation into real adoption. But now that the Genius Act has been approved, there's something really interesting that's happening in the banking and credit world. Credit card companies and payment networks will have to start partnering with crypto companies. To put this scale into perspective of just how big that would be, global cross-border payments crossed around $190 trillion in 2023, and there's estimates that it would reach $290 trillion by 2030. Now, stablecoin
That's probably all inflation.
coin market caps are also estimated to reach $500 billion to $1 trillion in the next few years. And even capturing just a fraction of that market would represent a huge opportunity. And companies like Visa have already figured this out. They've already announced plans to integrate digital payments on its networks. And there's rumors that Bank of America is exploring a partnership with Ripple to leverage on-demand liquidity and real USD.
I'm telling you, the next crisis will be from crypto because now it's interlinked with the entire economy. The next big crisis is probably going to come from cryptocurrency. I'm just saying.
Bank of America CEO Brian Moynihan says the bank would consider a stablecoin if U.S. regulations allow it. Speaking at the Economic Club of Washington, D.C. on Tuesday, Moynihan said it's pretty clear dollar-backed stablecoins will garner mass adoption. He also said that if the Trump administration and lawmakers on Capitol Hill pass stablecoin legislation, Bank of America would go into the business of stablecoins.
Now, to be very
There you have it. There's going to be $1 trillion of stablecoins apparently pretty soon, and all backed by U.S. government debt. It's just a way for the U.S. government to keep issuing more and more and more debt. That's all it is. Now, if it leads to a crisis, who cares?
clear, this is still a rumor, but if it were to happen, that would be huge. Now, at the same time, though, Ripple has applied for a U.S. national bank charter with the OCC. They're applying for a bank license. And if it's given, it could settle deposits directly with the Federal Reserve, bypassing traditional banks completely. So when you combine all of this, though, a bank license and the potential partnership with other banks, it could really push XRP and its ledger in the center of the U.S. financial plumbing system. And that would dramatically increase the chances that institutions would adopt the ledger for the next part that I want to show you, which is tokenization. Now, tokenization is going to change the world and how we invest.
I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities.
The tokenized
Why do we have to tokenize securities? I don't understand that. All tokenization is Robinhood's a perfect example. All Robinhood is doing is they're going to tokenize every private company they can, like SpaceX and XAI or something like it. It was SpaceX and it was one other. I forgot what it was. But basically, they can create these markets that are just pure nonsense based on privately held companies that are actually much harder to value because they're privately held. And they can allow retail morons to buy and sell these companies between each other with fake tokens and generate revenues on it. You're going to see tokenized everything. And it's all going to be traded in between people. It's one huge financial cash grab. That's all it is. I'm not buying tokenized garbage. I'm not going to buy a tokenized share of OpenAI. Even OpenAI disavowed it. It's not a real share of OpenAI.
of financial assets could reach multiple trillions by 2030. But here's what it means. Tokenization is the process of taking something of value, like the stock of a company, a piece of real estate, or even a piece of a Pokemon card, and turning it into a digital token on a blockchain. So imagine owning a fraction of a beach house that you think will go up in value. Instead of buying the whole house, which most of us can't afford to do, each token will represent a tiny slice of that underlying asset. And because it lives on the blockchain, these tokens can be traded instantly, anywhere in the world.
Shit, maybe I'll tokenize my house. That's a way to get money out of my house real quick. Oh, the amount of scams that are going to come from this. Oh my God. Oh my, the things that are going to be tokenized, you can't even conceive of them. And they're going to be so grifty.
24/7 without the usual layers of brokers, custodians, and clearinghouses that slow everything down and add cost to traditional transactions. Now, I can't overestimate just how big this will be in the future. And believe it or not, Robinhood is actually doing this right now. They are tokenizing the US stock market as a way to allow the European markets to buy US stocks.
What we announced last Monday in the south of France are several products for the EU stock tokens, which give exposure to public listed equities. We have over 200, and those are available 24/5, finally giving our European
24/5 trading. What could go wrong?
Customers exposure to US stocks.
It's kind of like a backdoor access to US.
And there's plenty of ETFs in Europe. Like there's different, because I guess there's different laws in the EU and the US. There's different, you can invest in an ETF in Europe. Why would you have to buy a tokenized version of it? Now, funny enough, the reason that we don't have tokenized stocks yet in the United States is, shockingly enough, we have stricter regulations than the Europeans when it comes to like private offerings. I didn't know that, but apparently it's true. And you want to know why we have stricter regulations? Because the amount of grift that was going on in the 1920s was astronomical. It was the wild, wild west. Imagine what crypto was like in like 2020, 2021. That was basically the stock market, all the scams and the pump and dumps. That was the stock market back in the 1920s. And how did that end, people? Do you remember how that ended?
US markets without needing regulatory legal approval. Now, the rumor, though, is that BlackRock, which again is the world's biggest asset manager, is quietly looking at blockchain platforms to be their backbone for issuing tokenized versions of not just stocks, but everything from treasuries to ETFs to fractional real estate shares. So if BlackRock or if any other blue chip asset manager were to choose the XRP ledger to create and settle these tokenized assets, it would instantly validate Ripple's technology. Of course, this is still a very big rumor, very speculative, and until we see a joint press release or a regulatory filing.
Obviously, he's not bought into it because he has 0.1% of his portfolio in it. You think why is he pumping this if he has 0.1%? At least I have like 95% of my portfolio in VT. At least I have that. And that's why I pump it, because I believe in it. He has 0.1%. Oh yeah, buy it, bro. It's the future, bro.
I would classify this in the high risk, high reward category. But that's partially why the price of XRP is going up. Markets are trying to predict the future, and they do that by pricing in at least a part of the what if scenario. But now let's get a little hypothetical and translate what all of this could mean for XRP's price using today's actual numbers. Keep in mind, all of this is going to be super speculative. But first,
here comes the pumping. Are we ready for this?
Did you know that you can actually earn XRP without ever buying it? That's what I've been doing with the Bitcoin credit card by Gemini, which is today's sponsor, and actually a credit card I've been using for a while now. So all opinions are my own, and we're not influenced by Gemini. I use this like any other regular credit card for gas and groceries, and I earn Bitcoin every time I use it. It has no annual fee. You can see the rates and fees in the description down below for more info. But this thing gives you up to 4% back in over 50 cryptocurrencies instantly. You can choose which one you want. Personally, I have it set to Bitcoin, but you can also choose XRP if you like. That's 4% on gas, transit, and rideshare, 3% on dining.
Okay, I get 2% back on my Fidelity card in USD. And there is inflation and the value of the dollar is going down. That's true. And it's going down about 2.5% roughly now. I take that money and I invest it in the stock market. If you get these rewards back, you're getting rewards of clown tokens that could easily drop 90% in a bear market. I'd rather get the USD rewards personally.
2% on groceries, and 1% for everything else. It's also a MasterCard World Elite, so I've used it internationally with no issues, and I like knowing that every time I swipe, it adds to my stack, which is something I plan to hold for.
Okay, I see a comment that says, Andrei said it's 0.01% of his portfolio. If that's true, then he has over $100 million portfolio. I would be shocked if Andrei Jikh had $100 million portfolio. It's possible, but that would be very shocking. I don't think he's that rich. I think Graham could potentially be that rich at some point. I don't see how Andrei is that rich, personally. But I could be wrong.
for in the long term. And here's the magic. You're investing as you spend. In fact, according to Gemini, cardholders who earned and held their Bitcoin for 1 year saw an average appreciation of 176%. Those are not your typical credit card points. So if you're interested, click the link.
Oh, can you show us the numbers for 2021 to 2023? What was the appreciation then?
In the description, or go to gemini.com/Andrei and get $200 in Bitcoin when you spend $3,000 in your first 90 days. Thank you, Gemini, for sponsoring this segment of the video. And now let's get back to it. As of right now, XRP's market cap sits at about $188 billion with roughly 59.2 billion tokens in circulation. Now, in a conservative scenario, let's assume that BlackRock does a test pilot and they tokenize 5% of their AUM, or assets under management, which, remember, they're managing roughly $11.6 trillion. They won't tokenize all of it at once. That's not realistic, but 5%, that's doable. The question is, what would they back that 5% or $580 billion worth with? It could be US treasuries, it could be some form of dollars, but it could be a lot of things. But let's imagine BlackRock takes a
It could be subprime trash.
conservative approach, and they take 20% of that 5%, which is $116 billion. So it will need $116 billion worth of XRP on chain, which, dividing 116 billion by the 59.2 billion XRP outstanding, equals about $1.96 of incremental demand per token.
Why can't they just create another token? Why does it have to be XRP itself? Why can't they just copy the technology? Isn't it just a bunch of code? I mean, maybe I don't understand it that well, but it seems like you could just replicate this instead of just pumping the price of some random crypto. You could just steal the technology.
Add that to today's $3.19, and you're looking at roughly $5.15 per XRP. But let's take a step forward. The base case, not conservative, but maybe something more realistic. What if BlackRock backs 50% of that pilot program in XRP? That's $290 billion. And the math comes out to about $4.90 extra per coin. Stacking that on top of today's price.
Okay, this is completely meaningless. So he's basically just giving these insane price targets, just like he did in 2021. And look what happened.
Reality. Because a lot of times in crypto, we're effectively placing a bet that everything from here on out will play out exactly as we hope it will. And in crypto, that rarely ever happens. And there are some risks that you should be aware of. And the first risk is this video and listening to price predictions. I've seen price predictions as high as $2,000 by 2026, which I think is just...
This is why I don't give price predictions. I don't do it. It's literally just pulling stuff out of your butt. Every single person in the world that makes a price prediction is pulling it out of their rectum. It is all a guess. Doesn't matter how famous they are, special little boys and girls. It's just numbers that they're pulling out of their butt. Oh, VT price target. Oh, I don't freaking know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Just super unrealistic. That would mean the market cap would exceed $100 trillion, which would make it about as big as the stock market of the entire world.
$100 trillion. I'm going to be a trillionaire. Oh. Shut your mouth. Andrei, shut your mouth. You are disgusting.
Now, I know that market caps are not as directly applicable to settlement layers and network effects, but there is still some logic there. So please don't listen to price predictions and always consider the risks. Like another major risk, for example, is that the XRP ledger might...
Oh, now you can't sue him. He's covered now. Just, always consider the risks. I'm covered. Oh, it's going to be $100 trillion, bro.
Never become the go-to platform for tokenization on the scale that we'd like it to. Take Robinhood, for example. They are using two blockchains for their tokenized assets, Arbitrum and their own layer 2 blockchain that is based on Ethereum. Now that's Robinhood. They are not crypto experts. It might have even made more sense for them to partner with the real experts, but they still opted to.
Andrei, I'm not a fan of Robinhood, but I think Robinhood is probably more intelligent about cryptocurrency than you are. They actually probably have real crypto experts that understand the actual technology and have worked on it. They probably have those people on staff. Shut your mouth.
To build their own system instead of outsourcing to a third party to trust. Now then ask yourself this question. Why would a giant like BlackRock partner with anyone when it could just spin up its own ledger and keep every layer under its own control? Institutions prefer full ownership of their rails rather than using a third party. So that BlackRock pilot program we talked about could end up on another custom blockchain of their own instead of the XRPL.
Isn't that what I said earlier? Yeah. they're going to steal the technology. They're just basically like getting a feel for it, and they're going to steal it. Of course they're going to do it. And they're going to do it on their own rails or ledger or network. They're not going to pump up your bags, you freaking clowns.
So yes, all of this is possible, but as of right now, I think it's highly improbable. But here's another major risk to consider. Put yourself in the shoes of a central bank or a country. Let's say you want to move $1 billion of a tokenized commodity to another country, whatever it is, whether it's wheat, oil, or gold, right? Why on earth would you want to use any cryptocurrency of any kind when they swing 10% in a day? If you're sending $1 billion to the United States, they better receive $1 billion and not a penny less. And that's exactly why stablecoins will dominate that space. And Ripple's
Yeah, you'll get paid in stable coins backed by subprime garbage.
real USD stablecoin or another government issued one will do those transfers instead of any cryptocurrency. Now, that might still be good for Ripple, the company, but time will tell if it's any good for XRP, the cryptocurrency, and therefore XRP investors. There's a very big difference between the two. And even though there's no denying that Ripple has built a very valuable rail system, how it's going to translate to the cryptocurrency has yet to be proven. So anytime you hear predictions of $100 or $1,000, yes, it's possible. But in order to get there, we need a lot of assumptions to come true. And then on top of those assumptions, we need to layer another 10. In contrast to Bitcoin, for example, now that it's over $100,000, that's only about 8 to 10x away from $1 million, which is still an amazing return. But it's not the same moneymaker back when it was just $1,000. There was a much bigger opportunity back then because there were more assumptions that had not come true just yet. But now that there are less of them on Bitcoin, the reward has been
I wonder what the possible futures are of Poopy Shark Fart Splat Coin.
compressed. Don't get me wrong, though. Even Bitcoin has its mythical narratives about how it's going to demonetize global assets and eventually become the base reserve currency of the future when AI is going to take over the world and it'll be 13 million a coin by 2040. Now, that's cool if it's going to happen, but there's a lot more assumptions that need to come true first, which is why it's nowhere near where people think it will be.
What a freaking moron. All right, let's do some comments. I know the picture looks really bad, but I'm using my mouse. All right, let's go to the top. Of course, check out the pinned comment. You get access to a free Discord. You can do sponsored videos, $50 a pop. I'm a CPA. I'll do your taxes. I'll do your bookkeeping. Click the pinned comment. It's a link tree. Click it. Book a consultation with me. Give me money. Thank you very much. Giebler the Gobbler. We got Scott Schaefer. Where are the snapshots from? A private source, Scott. A private source. Things I never needed to know. Meat Tits Kevin has an uncut schlong, and his wife needed to keep an eye on Miss Skelton because she is Meat Tits type. Yeah, well, Miss Lauren's a little bit insecure, man. Woo! I mean, you got a young, hot nanny, and then you got your old wife. Tempting. OMG, wouldn't even go to the ER with the kids. I'm dead. It gets worse. Yeah, I mean, the kid has some behavioral problems. He needs a good whooping. That's my personal opinion. I'm savage. I don't care. I will discipline the heck out of him. Meat Tits might officially be a celeb. This sounds like Suits versus celebs for money grabs. Well, that's what happens when you get rich. All your dirty laundry gets aired. Strongman's still scared to get sued by me, Kevin. He ain't going to do it. 10 minutes training on G-Spots is crazy. Who is MP? Is he really crazy? Only one I've ever seen on this channel is Jack or JP. Well, there's two boys. There's definitely two boys. And then 5 girls. Oh, no, by the way, I'm only answering member comments. So you better pay me $4.99 a month for me to answer your comments. And I'll be doing a lot of live streams going forward. Strongman has been paid off by Meat Kevin. It's called honesty. I'm giving my honest opinion, okay? I'm not like that Tesla shill that we listen to roasting Jeremy, who just fluffs Elon Musk, and no matter what Tesla stock does, oh, it's amazing. Great work not caving in and being broken by Kevin like weak man. Scott Schaefer. Oh, he's fluffing Scott. Yeah. Scott's a true American hero. After you throw up Dan, buy membership, support your boy, you cheap F. That's right. Give me money, money, money. Too bad I can't answer all your comments, guys. That's so unfortunate. You're defending Kevin because you were paid off or scared to bend over for him. It's not even defending Kevin. Like, I don't think he's disciplining his children. I think that's the problem. But when it comes to young boys, yeah, they're wild freaking animals, and you have to discipline them. They're savage beasts. They have no morals. You have to teach them. You have to discipline them. A couple swats with the coat hanger. But honestly, it's probably hard for Kevin to raise them because he's so freaking busy. We can hear it. Wonderful. I had my phone up just in case. Hans, what personal attack did I make, you moron? Okay, we got Gil. I'm not going to post up your arguing comments, Gil. You need to have an insightful comment or I'm not posting it. Let's see. All right, he's debating with Dan. Okay, apparently, let's see. Gil. I think the only clown guest I know of was Chris Patel because the guy was a dang clown helping EBITDA. Chris Patel. Didn't he lose $1 million? Oh, I'm a genius, bro. My stock, I bought some calls and they went up 1,000%, bro. And then he gambles again. Oh, bro, I lost 100%, bro. Gambling clowns. And y'all can laugh at me, but VT's doing pretty deliciously. Glad to see a real strongman video. So going forward, or at least next year, I'm not going to have time, obviously, when I go back to, my job. But I'm going to do a market open next year, a market close, and then the daily clown report. And then I'll have sporadic videos that I post on popular topics. I'm going to get a much better microphone. I'm going to get a Shure. And I bought a full year of StreamYard for like $212. So it's like $18 a month. So I can stream as much and as long as I want to, and I don't have to worry about storage. So got a lot of good changes coming to the channel. But I definitely want to do a lot more live streams. Okay, let's see. Ryu from Wesley Mitchell. Hello, good sir. Blockchainomics, bro. Oh, yeah. If BlackRock adopts 50%, and it'd be $100 trillion, bro. He's such a moron. Bolo, my YOLO, bro. F BlackRock. Yeah, they seem to get a lot of hate. Is this the Timu Graham Stefan? I think Andrei Jikh actually gets more views than Graham. I could be wrong, but he's got his little magic tricks. Bitcoin, my crap coin. I agree. Didn't meet Kevin debate strongman dressed as a clown. Yes, he did. Anyway, thank you for tuning in for the video. Check out all the services I provide. Tax season's coming up before you know it. And if you have a business, if you're self-employed, and you don't know what to pay in estimated taxes, you're probably going to be paying a lot of penalties and interest. So you might want to talk to a CPA to help you develop your estimated payments. If you don't have good bookkeeping, how do you even know what your profits are? You don't. And if you don't know what your profits are, how are you going to do tax planning? How are you going to pay the appropriate taxes throughout the year? I don't know. Maybe you could talk to a CPA. I do free initial consultations. Anyway, like, subscribe, join as a member if you want exclusive comment and priority responses to comments on live streams and below videos. And you guys have a wonderful night.